Welcome to the Zachrilege cast, the one interview podcast that brings the best and brightest of the atheist, skeptic, and just plain cool community to your earbuds. This is episode 37 of the show, and I'm recording live on November 17th, 2015. I would like to thank, once again, Matthew the Apostle for being on last week, and sadly, my streak of interviewees who quit podcasting on atheism, at least, dies at one. I blame his minions. Letha and Pixie coming after you next. So tonight we have a YouTuber named Demise, and that's probably what would happen to me and Quick if we ever gamered. He's the co-host of the Godless Nerd Show, and we're going to figure out exactly what that means without any controversy, because atheists avoid controversy all the time.
Does that mean I can't curse even?
You can say anything here. We don't have that PG-13 thing. If you want to say fuck, say fuck. So good evening. Good evening, Demise. Welcome to the show.
Am I in any danger from these minions that were mentioned, by the way?
Well, no, I think Matthew's minions are for good. Actually, Matthew doesn't maintain his own Facebook page, so he has his buddies do that, and Twitter and all that. They just kind of give him the extra boost when his show comes out.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I neglect my Facebook page for the show way too much, but I don't have too much of an audience yet. Any audience I do have is a carryover from another show I did for a long time called Godless, Roll Tracks, which was something for a very niche audience. I am part of a roleplay community, pretty much in a nutshell.
I feel like we're in a niche community, although when it comes to religion, we always tend to cover a pretty wide swath. But for people going atheist, what are they? They don't exist.
We don't. But I exist, and I just start fading away like Back to the Future.
Right. Yeah. The changing the timelines here. We'll see if we'll get to sci-fi and see if we have some good crossover or not. But so what's your personal religious background?
Well, I want to say I grew up Catholic, but ironically, the only time I ever went to a church was a Baptist church, so figure that out. And it was only for vacation Bible school. The one thing where a big blue bus picks you up so your parents can get a break from watching you for a few hours during 1 week.
Yeah, they sell those vacation Bible schools pretty hard. Those really big. Well, I'd say, being in Atlanta, Georgia, saying there's a big church around the corner. You mean which one? And there's always giant signs saying, they actually have classes for people who have been divorced. I thought, don't you supposed to stone them to death? But, potato, right?
Well, maybe if they got stoned in the first place. So wait, wrong thing. But anyway, as I was saying, though, I'm from Maryland, which is a borderline state. But at this point, I say it's more north than not. But I guess there was a Baptist church there. I don't know. I never got deeply indoctrinated in a traditional way, but later on I found out I had obsessive compulsive disorder, and one of my OCD thoughts was religious thoughts. I believe in God. When I stopped thinking about that, I never stopped thinking about it until a certain point where I became an atheist. It was a gradual process through YouTube videos and stuff like that. I hate to say it, but Amazing Atheist was one of those, even though I find him obnoxious now. But, different voices work, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we all go through phases. I was a big, Adam Carolla fan, and he would occasionally go off against religion, but then he kind of went a little crazy right wing, and it's when it comes to podcasting, you have a lot of options. I probably should turn off Facebook because it has little notifications that are making noise.
Adam Carolla, I recognize that name. Who's that again?
Well, he does his own podcast. He used to be on The Man Show. He was with Jimmy Kimmel, and
okay.
It's he's tried to get a TV show going, but it hasn't worked out. But he's one of the guys who really got podcasting going, and he has his show, The Adam Carolla Show, is one of the most popular shows. So, it wouldn't be a terrible guest to have on, but, I wouldn't tell him I haven't listened to his show in a while.
Yeah. So, you just became crazy right-wing, though?
Well, I don't know about crazy, but I think because he was one of those, he started poor and he made it himself, I think he got a little bit over the top about like entitlements and stuff. And he was really pushing for Romney when I was like, I don't think you actually like
What?
Romney. You just like him because he's not Obama, which, okay, I'll give you that. But I don't know. And
Are you
he
trying
does,
to hate on Barack Obama?
he does talks with Dennis Prager, who I can't quite figure out if he's trolling religious people or he actually is, because he's kind of like a right-wing Jewish guy, but he tries to tell people they have to be religious or else they aren't going to be like good people, which is odd when he's working with an atheist. But hey, that's there. It's sometimes hard to tell.
Maybe
It's a
he
little
doesn't think he's a
nebulous.
good person.
Yeah, well, that could be true, but man, that's a digression and a half right there. How did you go from like I'm an atheist to hey, I want to do a show about atheism, or at least partially about atheism?
For at least like the first atheist podcast I discovered was Seth Andrews' show, The Thinking Atheist, and from there I discovered other ones such as Dogma Debate back when I think it was at its prime when both Rachel and Aaron was on. And the one that's kind of inspired me to really make a show, I was already doing this roll tracks thing, and that was getting some traction actually. Even though I found out all my followers was just because at the time I was playing music, which was kind of illegal. I was stupid when I first started, I guess. And I decided I would try this podcast. Cognitive dissonance was a huge inspiration. I meant to say that. So yeah, I just decided to do it, take a chance on it. I pay attention to politics all the time, opinionated on things, and passionate on other things. I suck at explaining this, though, apparently.
What kind of, develops over time? And after all, you are in season 2, so are there any cliffhangers the end of season 1? Are you, will you get off the island and tell me your show is not set?
Well, we're still stuck on the island, but we decided to pre-record instead of do live. I would like to do live shows. I prefer it, but there was 2 reasons I stopped. One, after Spreaker updated last, it stopped working for me for the live whatchamacallit thing. I know there was the soundboard. It just stopped working. It would just keep crashing every time I opened it. And 2, the quality was bad because I would pretty much have this just like sitting here, and we would try to record each other's voices, including what was coming out my TV. So even though people could hear it for the live show, the low quality, it just wasn't working out. Like during the replay, no one could hear it. It was just a miserable mess, and I wanted to do better, so I decided to do pre-recording, but now I'm having another problem with that. Pretty much the file sizes that Camtasia records is too big. So I had to...
I was kind of wondering because when we got set up, you were like, "Oh, I haven't done Google Hangouts." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're on YouTube. That's where the Google stuff goes." But that, it's my method.
Was on Spreaker this entire time until the last episode. All my YouTube stuff mostly was Let's Plays and stuff like that, of mostly retro or RPG games and platformers and stuff. I grew up a Nintendo kid. Yeah, no, it really sucks. My original episode 20 was supposed to be an interview with Rachel Nan Brown. We did it. It didn't record properly, and that really sucked. Yeah,
I could see that happening.
Yeah. Pretty much, I was trying to change my settings, but for some reason, my TV's audio, or whatever audio I had it on, since I was in the middle of recording, I guess some settings somewhere, I think Skype or Camtasia itself, had it where it wasn't recording the system audio. So it was only recording my voice when I switched it.
So you'd ask a question and then there'd be a nice pause?
Yeah, it's like I was talking to myself for an hour and a half.
Man.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it's interesting because we use these kind of technological platforms. Like, I use Google Plus, but it seemed like until, I don't know, the last month or so, about every other time you do one of the people on would drop off or their volume would disappear. You have that crazy echo thing that happens, which usually is somebody doesn't have earbuds in or something. Yeah. And just something would break. And I hear about Spreaker all the time. The joke with no religion required and the equipment is always something that's not working. And that's just I guess the way it goes in the technological world.
It's minions. I don't know whose minions, but it's someone's minions. And then you just try to put up a towel and hope everything goes okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I do. I probably should have mentioned it earlier to all my sound people, including Matthew from last week, and I'm trying to remember who else. I know Kelly's
Oh, is there
on the
chat or
sound
anything
train.
here?
No, yeah, that's
No.
another thing. Like I said, hey, people are like, hey, could I listen live? I'm like, yeah, but I usually just record the show and then post it, and then you can listen to it later. If you want to interact with me, usually it's before or after, because I will pay attention. I think once people were chatting, and I was like, I can't pay attention. It's too much going on.
Okay.
One man show, and it's definitely homemade with the towel. Yeah. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, you're missing out on an amazing towel behind me. But
It is a sexy towel. I have to tell you that much.
You might.
I'm like salivating slightly.
You might enjoy the sound relative quality, which I guarantee only like 1% of the entire human race can hear it. But hey, for you, this is all for you. And the duct tape I put up has run out. And yes, I used duct tape. And oh, look at that. No, we should have. Who made the bet at 15 minutes?
Moment of silence.
Let me shift slightly. There's still a little bit of towel up. We have a Piper down. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
It's the whole podcast is ruined. You have to abandon this episode and then burn the others.
Yeah, this is the end of the career, whatever a career is in podcasting. Yeah. To be honest,
I have to admit I haven't sat down and listened to your episodes yet. I will. But I heard you on Bobby and Ashley's show. I believe it was their show. You were on. Maybe it was a different show. There's so many that runs together.
It was Never Religion Required. Yeah, I think you reached out. You're like the first person who's kind of reached out. Hey, I want to be on a show. Well, I think I've actually heard of a couple before, but.
Oh, really?
From me being on another show saying, hey.
Well, the thing is, I'm desperate at this point. I'm just somewhat joking. I haven't been like strongly pushing season 2 yet. I'm just trying to get my voice out there the best I can. Like the only time I had someone on my show that was relevant was let's see, well, through Roscoe, who does the Roscoe show. I don't know if you've heard of that or not. But he got Jason, who's Rachel's girlfriend, and both of them guest starred at one point, and that was a fun episode. From there, I've been trying to get a interview with Rachel forever. After that, she agreed to it. We just between both of us having real life stuff, mostly me from moving, etc. We weren't able to work it out, and once it finally did, that happened. So that was really a big bummer. Otherwise, we had one particular fun episode. Let me look up what episode that was. But on one episode, we talked about Leviticus, just reading it off. We've come to the conclusion that there's no problem that can't be solved by burning a live goat or a live ram in one case.
Yeah, I think it's the Susie,
it might be a different
bar atheist who hates the burnt offerings, because God obviously likes barbecue, because in the Old Testament, people were burning meat. That's right. It was the brother who burned meat who was preferred by God, and the one who burned the fruit and vegetables, he was the one that ended up being cursed for.
To be fair, what asshole, like, I guess you're stir fry, but for the most part, you don't really burn your vegetables like that, like a barbecue singe. Maybe that guy was just
put him on the grill, but you know.
On the grill. Maybe this guy was just a terrible cook, and vegetables were cursed forever because of that.
That could be it. That's another way to look at it. So I saw on your profile that you're in Pennsylvania, but I didn't know exactly where. So are you in the Pennsylvania part of the state?
I'm like in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm in south of York. Was it Delta, PA? Which has apparently the biggest fucking drug problem in Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice.
But I've only lived here for a few months. I lived in Edgewood, Maryland for my entire life. If you don't know what that is, ask another Marylander, and they'll have about 20 jokes about it. It's like even though it's exaggerated, there's people from Baltimore who's afraid to come to Edgewood. It's that ghetto. Yeah. Huge drug problem. They're mostly pills and all.
Well, I know Beth from Beyond the Trailer Park lives somewhere in Pennsylvania, but that's a pretty big state. I'm from Pittsburgh originally, but I only lived there. I was
Pittsburgh.
6. I don't really have a feel for that. I don't say Unions and as much as I should.
I apologize that you had to live in such a horrible city.
Oh, come on. Pittsburgh's, well, it's much nicer than it was. When I grew up, with the steel mills going, it was like the smell of sulfur all the time. And now it's nice, it's cleaned up nicely.
Now it just stinks. Well, I can't even say anything because every football team I like sucks this year.
Yeah.
But since I grew up most of my life in Maryland, I'm a Ravens fan, but I'm also an Eagles fan because I was born in, it was a South New Jersey area, but it was closer to Philly than New York. So yeah, go figure that out.
Gosh, your choices are not so good this year, right?
And my third favorite's Detroit, so just more depression.
Seriously.
I'm
Man.
not even paying attention to football anymore this year. Oh, the NFL as a whole kind of sucks. Like, Jacksonville has a chance to make it to the playoffs still. It's that bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, my parents live in Nashville, so
Yeah, it's good.
I follow the Titans, and
Indianapolis will probably go like 7-9, 8-8, and barely squeak in.
it's possible.
Yeah, but
It is.
it looks like Patriots are going to go undefeated. Giants might be a real team again this year, though, even though I don't like them that much. See, this is the gift that we of Godless has. We completely sidetrack the conversation, and then it goes down a rabbit hole.
There's always Rebel. It could be an interesting place. It's odd. I do another show that's purely football, and it's like when it comes up on this show, I'm like, I want to go back and talk about atheism. It's odd. I'm like, but I like football. I have my fantasy trophies hiding under another towel because I'm that excited about.
Never entered a fantasy.
Sound.
I did a pick them for the first time. At first, I was doing fine. Now I'm getting like only 5. Like I only got 4 points last week, but last week was crazy.
It's almost
crazier
gone.
than your towel.
Yeah, that didn't go well. Hey, it was a shot. I'll have to get the serious duct tape, and it's gone. 20 minutes. Silent. Not bad.
We of the flying spaghetti monster would.
Yeah, ramen, right?
No.
Well, This is probably a good time for me to throw out the live read number 1. I like to give podcast promotion, but I don't like them to talk about it, so I'll do it. Now, I thought the podcast Hardcore History was hardcore and it came to long episodes, but I wasn't even close. Bryce Blankenagel, or Blankenagel, poor guy, it's a tough name. That's the most Mormon name of all time, and he's an ex-Mormon. Just dropped his anniversary episode, which clocks in at 7.5 hours.
Suck it, dog, a debate.
It's a deconstruction of the Book of Mormon and a wipe clean of any legitimacy the book had way before Hour 7. And I'm going to have Bryce on my show, so, Naked Mormonism, check it out.
Well,
it is an amazingly long show.
Well, I could do it in one sentence. Magic underwear. There, I win.
That's part of it. I've always wondered, because we have access to all the historical records from that time. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we had that kind of access during like the era where the Bible was being written. Like what
well, we did have some, and we've had some false prophets, but nothing about this Jesus appears. I'm actually a mythicist, so I'm part of David Fitzgerald's camp, I suppose. Though I'm not going to write a book about it.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things you find out as you go through it. You go, wait a second, you mean there's like zero historical evidence of Jesus? All we have is the Bible, which was written at earliest like 30 years after he died. That's it?
Bibles
Nobody else talked about him.
Maybe all this stuff. Better, but even those are questionable at best. And not around the time Jesus would have been alive. But yeah, there's virtually none. And don't quote me on that. I might be completely wrong there. That they might not even have that much.
But it seems like I don't even know if it's a recent thing, because I don't know how much you could have studied the history until the last couple of years.
Yeah. So I guess Islam has one up on Christianity. At least we know Muhammad was a real person, even if he was a horrible barbarian. But, it's something.
Even I heard like some story about it being like possibly there was a myth behind it. I mean, I thought he had offspring, which means, but he didn't have a son, so only daughters, which don't count. So that's kind of ironic considering the way it worked out. But Yeah, it didn't work out well. Well, it worked out pretty well for him. He did okay. That is
Yes.
true. So
By
where
the
were
way,
you?
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. As your question, it might lead into something I was about to say anyway.
Well, I was just doing the old, where you heard about, the Paris attacks and
I
the
was about to
social.
ask you about that actually. To be honest, I'm one of those people who are just jaded when they hear about this sort of thing. I hate that. Maybe it's somewhat my depression, but after brewing on it for a while, I found that, well, a lot of my opinions on things have sort of changed. But before this attack, I was pretty much saying that we just need to get out of the Middle East. They're obviously going to be in civil war with each other, as they usually are, but the Iranians have to figure this out themselves. But after this, we kind of have to stay involved in some way, maybe even boots on the ground, but not us being the lead country. I don't know. I'm I'm not one of the people in charge to really make that sort of decision, but I feel for the victims in Paris. It's sort of their 9/11, for lack of better comparisons. And yeah, as France is our oldest ally.
Yeah, all of a sudden now the right wing is loving on France when they were calling them surrender monkeys. I
Well, they
just
are surrender monkey. I'm just
it
kidding.
does cause a little pain just to see the fact that they automatically just bombed ISIS as a retaliation. I guarantee the majority of people that died there probably were, I'd say, innocents, but it's really hard to say with ISIS because I know some people have no choice; they have to be there. It's like you either join or die. I mean, in a way, it's like with
Yeah,
Westboro
I don't
Baptist
know about
Church, where you're
that.
like, well, I'm actually appreciate the fact that they're honest
I'd
about the
say they were
Bible.
brainwashed into it,
Yeah.
but they made the choice themselves. Um, a manipulated choice, but that's what the um. Yeah, I know my. How much of episode 20 did you hear?
I got about 30 minutes in or so.
Yeah,
I
well,
said on ISIS.
at one point, my friend took a very hard stance on Islam. It's too hard for me to really agree on just the eradication of Islam. Like, he wants it completely banned in every country and stuff like that.
How
I,
does that happen? Even like
I know.
nuclear fallout of the entire. It's like they're everywhere. There are
No, he
Muslims
doesn't mean
in.
like. Well, at first I took it as he meant mass genocide, but no, he meant just like weeding it out, like it. Don't acknowledge it or suppress it, and don't allow them to build mosques, etc. But obviously, I disagree with that. I, despite me being shocked that he even said that, I try to take the David Smalley approach, where you just ask questions after he says something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the right wing response. The governor saying no Syrian refugees would come in. And didn't the one Syrian passport they find wasn't that a fake anyway? So that's
Yeah, that's what I
such
heard.
fear mongering that it's like there's
Yeah,
nothing there. Like someone makes a blustery. I mean, as you follow sports, like you go to a sports bar, usually the random person at the sports bar is the worst takes ever. It's like, oh, sign Tim
yeah,
Tebow, or they say something that just like when you think about it for a second, you're like, that makes no sense, and you
yeah.
can't actually. It's kind of an emotional reaction, or maybe because they're Christians and Christians have to fear God, they must fear everything else, so they fear this unknown. I just hate this whole clash of civilizations thing so much.
I
Rubio
fear
says like
unknown too. He's such a useless Pokemon. No.
Christians against Islam. It's like you guys are like cousins or brothers or something. You're both wannabe sequels of a bunch of fairy tales, so you got to
At
kill each
least the
other.
Jewish people are OGs. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I don't know, they didn't exactly start it
Well, they're
because
not
some of
the.
their
Well, if
stories are
you
from
really want to
behind.
get technical, the OGs are the Hindus, at least as far as living religions.
Hmm. Yeah, so in your face. Any Zoroastrians around anymore? Or are they out of here?
And who knows? I, I don't know how far back Native American culture went and their religious beliefs. At least they had the right idea towards women, where they were more equal in society. But manifest destiny, YOLO swag. Unless you
It's
read a Texas textbook, then that didn't really happen.
yeah, yeah. The whole Abrahamics, like that, just no. It's done. I think it does more harm than good. Kind of is hard to
Mhm.
refute, but for a lot of people, it's like a drug, and they can't live without it. But we'll push aside just for a second because I figured we could hit this because this is a subject that I think is near and dear to your heart. So let's talk about gaming. At least we'll do my history,
Okay.
and then you can chime in,
All right.
plug in
You
here,
show
of
me
course.
yours, then I'll show you mine. Live on webcam. No, I'm just
That
kidding.
kind of show, I
You
tell you.
have, yes, you have to. You have to be on here to see what. I'm just kidding.
So
Go.
the personal gaming history. So my parents got the Atari 2600 when I was growing up. So that was all versions of Pong for a while. Had a little break, Super Nintendo in high school.
Mhm.
Played some of the first-person Doom, Duke Nukem kind of games when I was in college. And right now I have a dusty Wii downstairs. So that's the latest I have.
Really,
So
it's like
talk, real gamer. How do I catch up? Is it possible? Am I hopeless?
not hopeless, but you have to just buy a Wii U and you're fine. But anyway, ironically, I started out with the Atari 2600 too. I was only 5 years old in kindergarten in the early 90s, mid 90s actually. I forgot my age for a second, but my parents bought it for me. I played it. It was fun. It was fun for what it was. I had some good games on it, and I had some terrible games, including ET.
Oh right, I heard that was like just one of the
It's
worst.
it's bad, but at least it's interesting in its badness. If you know how to play, it's not that hard, but figuring out how to play without the instruction manual is nearly impossible.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, my only
The
advantage.
Angry Video Game Nerd did a movie, but it's kind of a fictional movie about it. But the designer of the games in the movie, Howard Warshaw, I can't pronounce names for shit or remember names for shit.
Only
But
time I go across like a Gallagher or Miss Pac-Man, I have to play. But that's about
yeah. In
I'm
fact,
gonna have.
I think Gallagher was one of the games. No, it wasn't Gallagher. It was a different one. It was Yar's Revenge, which was a similar game to Gallagher, but sideways instead of up and down, if I
Yeah,
recall. But
trick you with
anyway,
the sideways.
I digress. Then I had the Super Nintendo, which was like my first love. I just Super Mario RPG. It's just the Mario games in general. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Yoshi's Island's amazing. Just lots of great games. If you never played a Super Nintendo, go find an emulator or something. I don't know.
Don't they have all those games? I don't know if the Wii U does it, but the Wii, I
Yeah,
remember
the
just
Wii
getting
and Wii
the.
U does. Yeah, but you can also get some of the emulation. It's sort of a legal gray area, so but no one has really gotten in trouble for it. At most, like if people are making games, they might get a cease and desist, but that was more common in the mid 2000s than now. But and then from there I got like a PlayStation and a Nintendo 64. If you've ever seen the YouTube video where the kids are where the kids freaking out, have you?
I
Well,
haven't. I recall that that was like my first apartment after college. The roommate got that,
yeah,
and we were playing the Mario game for days.
Mario 64.
Yeah.
How about Mario Party? That would end your friendship. But yeah, we
No.
were freaking out like the kids in the YouTube video. It was a fun time. And then I got the game that like took up my whole teenage years and early teenage years of PlayStation 2. And now I have a PS3, which isn't really modern, but I have it. Mostly I use it for one show in particular I do on YouTube. And I have a Wii U, which is the only next gen. And a 3DS if you want to count that. With the current gen as well. And so I'm a Nintendo person, even though I skipped the GameCube. I had a Wii as well. Actually, I have two Wii's. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was wondering because it seemed like the Wii U never really caught on that much.
Actually, at first it didn't, but it has a lot of good games out. It has Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Maker is the biggest hit, well, newest hit, I should say. Splatoon is actually great. Have you ever heard of that?
No, it was like the Mario Kart because we played the version on Wii, and then there was a Rayman game that we played on Wii that we really liked.
I
And
heard the Rayman game sucks.
there was one on Wii U. Oh no, just that game was fun.
I heard that one sucks, unfortunately. Let's see. Captain Toad was a nice little surprise hit, but Splatoon, I think it's Call of Duty, but Nintendo. So it actually has personality and funner game mechanics. It's not first person; it's second person. You play as like a little squid kid. The goal, depending on the game mode, is that while you're firing out your team colors ink, and you can become like in the squid form and swim through your own ink. You're slowed down and stopped if you're in the enemy ink, and you can like splat the other player, also known as kill them and respawn. Depending on the game mode, ranked is just covering as much area with your ink as possible, and then so it's kind of like politics, really. No.
You ink yourself.
No. Yes, you ink yourself at the end of the day, but you're just trying to, like, one side trying to cover the country red, the other side blue. No, and then there's a tower mode. There's King of the Hill, pretty much, if you ever played Halo. But it's fun and has a lot of charm to it.
Well,
If you're
a game that we really liked was The Blob.
the Blob,
a
boy and his Bob.
Well, it was called The Blob and had really good music, and it basically was you were like a blob, and the world was gray, and you were putting color in it. That's kind of what it was, and
The Blob.
it was a lot of fun. And the first one, you had to do the thing with because of the Wii controller, you had to actually move it, and then the second one, it was just press buttons. I think that was a little better because you get some carpal tunnel playing.
Oh, The Blob. Okay.
The Blob, yeah. We were so sad because they were talking about we played the sequel, and then they're like, we're gonna do a third one. Then they're like, nope, we're not. No.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could be a Mega Man fan like me and have them cancel Mega Man Legends 3 and then blame on the fucking fans of why I don't make it. God damn it, fuck you, Capcom. Sorry.
Really? Man, I had no idea. There's such excitement.
They're like both Capcom and now Konami have just lost it. Though I think they like remade Mega Man 1 through 3 into one game or something, and they help support also Games Done Quick, which is a charity event done twice a year. It's a bunch of speedrunners who are people who beat video games as quickly as possible using like tricks and glitches, just pure skill. And they donate money to either like Doctors Without Borders or Prevent Cancer, stuff like that. So that's a cool thing. Capcom was a co-sponsor last year during the summer, actually.
So what is the other shows you had on there? You had other video game shows on YouTube? Or did you retire from those?
What? I'm not retired on those, but I'm going to slow down Let's Playing eventually. I'm just deciding what direction I want to go with that, if at all. I was sort of thinking of just starting a new channel for gaming alone. This just be for other miscellaneous things from now on. But one show I do on there is RPCW, which is you use a wrestling video game, in this case WWE 2K14, which is an older one, but the other one sucks. So pretty much you create your own wrestlers for it. This, in my case, I'm basing it off of 4 players I know in each community I mentioned earlier, and they wrestle for titles, etc. And you edit together your voice, the matches, and cutscenes, etc. It's fun to do, but it's just for a niche audience, and I have an end game for that at this point. And my Let's Plays, I need to continue the ones I'm doing now. After that, I'm deciding if I want to continue normally, or if I just want to do a particular game for my final project, my favorite Final Fantasy game. Have you ever played that series?
I had a roommate who had PlayStation, and he played one of those, and I just never, There's some series
Probably
I just
7.
never even played.
I just assumed 7. But I want to play Final Fantasy 9, which is my favorite. I think that one's underrated.
How many are there?
Oh, fuck.
How many fantasies?
I believe 15's coming out either this year or next year.
Yeah,
Plus all the spin-offs.
Oh, well, they have to be spin-offs, right?
Yeah, all of this at all, especially Chocobo Racing.
I forget, yeah, that like you think Mario, but then Luigi gets a game, or a Princess, or the Yoshi, and all the other characters, and I think even
Do you
Bowser.
know who no Bowser game?
There isn't a
Yeah,
Bowser.
yeah. The Mario series is, I would say, the 2D series for Mario has kind of died out, but Super Mario Maker revitalized it. Do you know what that game is?
So you kind of like, do you build your own boards in a way? Is that what it is?
Yeah, yes. You build your own levels, and you get different pieces as you build more. Pretty much, you get stuff from the original Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, and the modern Super Mario Wii games, New Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, because that was the
So
last.
yeah.
That was the last game I finished. I borrowed it from a friend. I don't know if
Oh,
it was the latest
okay.
Super Mario game, but it wasn't Mario Maker. It was probably the first one that came out on Wii, and I remember we played it for a while, but he would
Was
just
it 2D
constantly
or
die.
3D?
It was two
Okay, yeah. So it's probably Super Mario U or
World
U,
or something. It
New
wasn't on the.
Super
It
Mario
was the
Brothers.
regular. It was the regular Wii, but I kind of
Wii,
finished
not
it up,
U.
and that
I
was the last
apologize.
time I had ever. I've played it. It's in the closet. It's so sad. I have new
Oh,
TV and everything, but I just yeah, not on there.
no.
But let's
Just
take.
get Wii U at this point. You can play such games as Mario Kart 8. Nintendo give me money, by the way. Hyrule Warriors, that's a good one. It's like Dynasty Wars, but with Zelda characters. That's just exactly what it is.
Hmm, nice stuff. Yeah, I think it was. Nancy Drew PI on Twitter. She mentioned that she had it. She was talking about all those games. I was like, that sounds like fun. I just invest. I mean, plus,
Yeah,
isn't
there's
it
also
getting
Pikmin
relatively cheaper
3.
over time?
Yeah, I'd say if you're gonna Wii U, wait until the holiday season.
They always seem to
All
have kind
kinds of
of
sales
bundles and
during that
junk.
time. Just like stomp out some little kids on Black Friday. It's all good. No, don't do that. That was a joke. And if you do that, we are not responsible for you going to jail.
Well, you are, but yeah.
Shh.
Implying violence. Okay, let's take.
Disclaimer. I am
Okay.
just making a joke. Do I have to repeat it again? So you mentioned sci-fi, right?
I did.
So we're no longer on the Nintendo advertising show.
Yeah, actually, well, let me do this first. I'm going to do my second live read, and then we can get a little sci-fi action because we have certain movies coming out soon that we need to talk about. Live read 2. They had me at "Give Me Sex, Jesus." The Godless Drinking Hour. That's the latest episode title. Is so up my alley with copious boozing and cursing and naughty talk. Their latest episode includes an interview with the co-creators of the documentary called "Give Me Sex, Jesus," and we'll let you decide if the comma is appropriate. America Darling Curl, one of the co-hosts, will grace this very YouTube stage shortly, so we'll give some love there. So yeah, we have to say something. We got the Star Wars movie. What's your thoughts?
It's mildly excited for it. I'm sure it's going to be very good. I'm not like, oh my god, because there's still a little bit of mistrust because of the prequels being so bad. But I think it's going to be a lot better. Maybe not as the original trilogy, but still very, very good.
Yeah, I
And
feel
the
like
people.
kind of like the Star Trek reboot, where I felt like that was like a 3-star movie, and it was good, and it moved nicely. And I think I saw the second one, but I don't really remember a lot about it, except it was like, oh, it's Khan, except we're not going to say it's Khan. And then so I was like, well, it's the same. All right, it'll probably be good, but maybe the prequels, it didn't ruin my childhood, but I
Never really
definitely was
got into Star
disappointed.
Trek, I hate to say.
Yeah, I was wondering because it seems like you have to be one or the other, and there are a lot of really
No, it's
serious
nothing
Star
like
Trek
that.
fans.
If anything, I'm on Team Doctor Who.
Yeah, see, that's a good question because I know I've asked a guest before, probably more than one, because there is a definite Venn diagram intersection between atheism and like sci-fi geeks. As someone who's never seen the show, where do you start?
It depends on start at the reboot. the 2005. Well, it's not even a reboot; it's a continuation. But you don't really have to know anything about Doctor Who's past to get into it. That's where I started watching. And if you get really into it, you can go back and watch the older Doctors. But the problem with the old series, other than that it being a slower pace and not as good effects, is the fact that a lot of the episodes are missing. Like BBC had a thing back then where they didn't play reruns because there's like a lot of advertisers pissed about that for some reason. And so a lot of the episodes weren't saved; they were destroyed, lost, and especially the second Doctor. So yeah,
Yes.
so start at the 2005 reboot. If you get into it from there and you want to watch the older Doctor stuff, it's there for you.
It's there for you. It is funny to think of like all these old shows that didn't they like aired once and they were never heard from again. And then of course Star Trek was kind of one of the first shows that really hit on syndication and reruns, and wasn't really a hit when it was on initially.
Not really.
What you gonna do?
Yeah.
So do you think that?
Well, Doctor Who was a hit. It just kind of waned out by 1980. It started in the 60s though, so it had a good run. But then it took a 15-year hiatus, more or less.
I was wondering how long it was off, because I know like they recently had like a 50-year anniversary. I was like, it hasn't been on the whole time, has it?
Yeah, it's been on since the 60s. It's a 50-year-old show. It's just a 15-year hiatus, other than one movie that happened in the 90s.
Ooh, with 90s sci-fi.
It was like 16 year, but I'm just rounding. But yeah, I honestly haven't watched that much of the old Doctor yet. I watched some episodes from the first Doctor, who was an old gentleman. But I just am into so many things. Like, I have My Little Pony to watch, damn it. I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. I'm into the new series. I kind of wish I'm now regretting admitting that on the air.
I was like, is this the reboot? Like, is this like the Dark Edge? You know?
No, it's not Dark Edge. It's Friendship is Magic. That sounds terrible, but it's actually pretty good. It's more like a 90s cartoon where like the good and like decent animation. Well, it's better animation than the 90s cartoon, but you're there for the animation and the characters and stuff. They flesh together the world pretty well and have good, interesting characters with cool personalities and stuff. There's actually a huge adult male fan base for that show. And there's kind of a community called Brownies, but I don't really label myself that way. I'm just a fan of the show.
I think you've qualified yourself as a nerd in it right there.
Yeah. I just talked about... and there's actually a Doctor Who character in My Little Pony called Doctor Who's.
Really? Wow.
And he studied his whole life for time travelers, just using science just to find out there was a magical spell for it.
Of course, yeah. When you are in doubt, just magic solves it.
Magic. It's what the Bible does.
Every
but they
time.
don't like to admit that.
Now, do you think that atheists and everywhere in the world are just too sensitive right now? Feels like a lot of people, of course, before like serious world issues came up, people are fighting over weird stuff.
Well, the left wing in general. I actually wanted to bring this to. I actually wanted to say something negative about Bill Maher, but first I'll say something positive about him. He has called out liberals on this, where we get overly PC on everything and pretty much push what's essentially censorship. Yes, there's some boar-headed people who do stupid things like dress as Caitlyn Jenner for Halloween, but trying to like ban these costumes and shame them is pointless. Like, did you see that? It was like a fake or artificial, maybe is a better way to say it, outrage over costumes this year, where you can't dress as a homeless person, etc.
Yeah, I think they showed like a page of, but then one of them was like a superhero costume, and I'm like, it's like ableism? Like, I don't even know what that is, but I'm sure it offends somebody.
Ableism is discrimination against the handicap. It's making a Christopher Reeves joke, pretty much.
Well, that's a bad joke. Although there have to be like handicapped superhero characters. I mean,
Well,
was in a
no.
wheelchair.
Dude, do you know who?
I know Christopher Reeve had where he got paralyzed and all.
Yeah.
I mean, like
It's in the
actual
Superman costume. I know. But Superman's been around since the 30s, so suck it.
Yeah, and there was a Superman movie on TV. I think it was the one with Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, and I was like, wait, they rebooted that, but this movie came out like 3 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah, they keep rebooting Superman. Superman and really DC movies as a whole is a mess. I mean, Marvel's going down too. Avengers 2, from what I've heard, wasn't as good as the first.
Yeah, that was just what's happening. Like,
I'm guilty of one thing, though. Even though I heard it's great, I need to watch it. I have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy yet.
yeah, that was a good one, and plus, I didn't know anything about it going in. I'm really not a
I heard
comic
that
book
even
guy.
Dave Batista was good, which I'm segueing into talking about wrestling now. I'm just kidding. We don't have to.
There you go. Yeah, wrestling. Like in middle school, I had all these friends who were into it, and it just never appealed.
It's not for everyone, and there is a huge problem in wrestling. Like, if you actually look up the lives of every wrestler, almost everyone's a horrible person in some way. Whether they're racist, sexist, bigots in some way, or even did some crimes. So,
I think that idea almost ties into your NFL talk earlier. That when you find out about some of the players, you go, "Ooh, man!" You're like, "I'm a fan of the Ravens." Oh, you mean like the murderer Ray Lewis? Oh, not allegedly.
Or that
you hear the bad
that rapist Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, Roethlisberger. You got Vic. You
By
got.
the way, I just
You have a lot of
assumed
names.
you were a dirty Steelers fan. Am I assuming right or wrong on that?
I'm not. I don't know why,
Good.
because I grew up in the 70s when they had their greatest era, but I think because of that, I've been a contrarian my whole life, so I actually was a Dolphins fan. I like their colors. And then I switched to the Titans when my parents moved to Nashville.
They might have a shot at the wild card if they get their act together. Didn't they get better after they got a new coach?
Well, I think they ruined everything when they switched from their 70s cool teal color to that weird random light blue thing they have, and the castrated dolphin thing they got going on in the helmet there. I like the one with the little helmet on its head. A dolphin with its helmet on its head. How intimidating is that? Very not. But I think, I gave up on the team after it was Don Shula left and Dan Marino left, and those guys were really good, and the guys they brought in after that, really weren't. So
I hate to be connected to players. Go undefeated this year and win the Super Bowl again.
That does seem likely. Yeah, for
maybe Green Bay
Giants.
Stand up to them. Maybe Green Bay.
Maybe the Panthers, because I'd kind of like Cam Newton to score a touchdown and do a little dance, and everybody freaks out about that.
I don't feel like they should be undefeated. I think a lot of good teams just got a really weak schedule, the Patriots included. I'm hoping the Eagles can squeak through, but it looks like the Giants are starting to put something together, so I don't know. It depends if they can stay healthy or not. But I'm hoping that the Eagles just squeak through, even if they're 6-10.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any squeaking through this year, but it's there's a lot of mediocrity in the middle there. So you get a little win streak going, and you never know. There's some bad.
At least it has the AFC South, which is just abysmal.
Yes, it is bad.
Culture's going to win by default.
Well, last year it was the NFC South was terrible, and this year the AFC South is terrible, and the NFC East is kind of terrible. Yeah, there's not much.
Actually, almost every fucking division is terrible, other than maybe one team. Let's see, there's 2 undefeated teams, Patriots and I don't know if Panthers can continue the undefeated streak. They have to get through Atlanta twice. They can probably do it once, but I don't know about twice.
Yeah, I live in Atlanta, and yes, they aren't that good.
They're not. Okay.
They started hot. I think that's one of those biases you get in sports. Like if a team starts hot and then they kind of tail off, you think they're still good. When the Falcons, this is way more sports I've ever talked about on this show, but when the Falcons barely could beat the Titans with their backup quarterback, and they scored.
Is it ironic that you have a nerd on and you talk about football?
I know, it's crazy.
It's the opposite of respect.
You zig when we zag. It's crazy, but I can.
Like I said, have that
Trust me, I
effect. We
can do
just
it.
go down a rabbit hole that gets deeper until we forgot we were originally talking about Paris a half hour ago.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I do a show called Going for Two, and it's sports all the way. So
All the
that's
way.
that's the one. But we'll segue since we're getting close to the bottom of the hour, as the radio people would say. So, what are some of your favorite like atheist podcasters or YouTubers or bloggers? I know you mentioned some people who you started with, but your tastes might have changed. Who might be some of your dream guests to be on your
Who
show?
I used to watch, or who I'm still watching today.
Well, I mean, let's talk about your favorites now.
All right. Still watching Cognitive Dissidents. They're in terms of humor, they're my favorite. I started watching No Religion Required quite recently. Paleo Radio. I still watch Dog Debate, though it can get a little long-winded sometimes. I actually don't prefer the episodes with the religious people talking because it seems like they're talking about the same thing every time you have one on. But it's still generally
that is an issue. Like when David mentioned that, first name basis because I met him in ReasonCon, but when he mentioned doing
now you're BFS forever.
When you do two shows, he's like, I'm going to do 2 shows a week. I'm like, not that I would discourage you, but who has the time to listen to all that? I mean, you have to basically have your podcast in 24/7 to listen to all the good stuff now.
I think they are kind of like a little naive, thinking, "Oh, well, if I have 2 shows, there'll be 2 decent length shows, and now we're going to get 2 4-hour shows a week." Let's see.
There's a rule.
I really do dig David's new program with giving out money to those in need. In fact, I was actually one of the people who tried to reach out to David because I have a difficult home situation. I don't know if I really want me to get into any detail of that, or even if I particularly want to right now. But
you talk about what you feel comfortable about.
Yeah, well, just a nutshell is my stepmom tries to kick me out every day, and I'm kind of worried about my mom right now. She lives in Maryland still. She's can't take care of herself, and she's having problems. So I kind of want to move out with her and get a job and stuff, but I just don't know where to begin. Trying to get my life together before I worry about anyone else's. So.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just worried that one day out of the blue, I'm just going to be kicked out. I'm going to have nowhere to go.
I do agree that even though sometimes they're done poorly, a lot of religious groups do have these kind of support where they can help people in need. And I was a little worried at first because there was one, I think her name was Katie, and it was like, she got kicked out. Her family was Mormon, and they kicked her out. And there was this fundraiser for her, and it was going on all these sites, and I was like, I bet there are hundreds, if not thousands of people in the same situation. I hope we don't just focus on one person. So I'm glad.
I think her name was Kaylee or something.
Kaylee, yeah, the I Am Fourth. She was on, I think.
Well, because of what happened there, they thought of that and is now doing a I Am Fourth fund, or at least wants to, where he gives money to several people, mostly younger atheists who are about to be kicked out, especially LGBT. So yeah, that's a cool thing he's doing right now. Other podcasts listening to. I actually really enjoyed Daryl Ray's show. Have you ever listened to his Secular Sexuality?
Yeah, and that's an angle that isn't hit very often either. So it's good to see shows that are not, because sometimes you get stuck on the making fun of the news with the jokes shows, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of really good ones. But but we get stuck into a loop where everybody's talking about the same 3 stories all week, and you get kind of like, give me a break. But
well, my show, I never really got to explain what my show is supposed to be formatted as. My show is a mixture of the news and also like nerd stuff, nerd news, nerd discussion. The problem is we can't stay very organized, so we end up just being a free talk show, and we just bring up topics as they come along.
I just saw a cat in the background.
Yeah. I have to edit the newest episode. I recorded one about 2 nights ago. Um, it's myself, David as usual, but he also has his friends over, and one of them wants to be a permanent one. It's a pretty fun conversation, but also kind of wild and wacky and out of control. Hell, our first conversation is about a fan theory that Jar Banks is secretly a dark Sith Lord, and everything that happened in the first movie he manipulated.
That's an idea. Like
Yeah.
I'd say he could come back, but I suppose it's what is the
No,
lifespan of a
he's a
whatever?
terrible character. Everyone hated him. But pretty much like one argument is the one scene where he jumps 20 feet and then goes into water. No one else of his race has been shown to be able to do that. So they speculate that he was using the Force to do it. But there's more to it than that. It's you might have to watch my podcast to listen for more of that crazy theory.
Yeah, see, you gotta tease. You said there's more, but you can't get it all now. So where
Yeah.
can everybody find your show so they can check it out?
Right now I'm uploading them to well, I have episode 20 right now on a channel called Roleplay Humor, but probably in fact, yeah, I'm going to make a new channel just titled Godless Nerds. Hopefully, we'll be able to find with just that. If not, there's a Godless Nerds Facebook, and I'm going to post links there from now on, I promise. And yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter at Demise Avalon. I tweet pretty frequently, but it's mostly about wrestling these days. Um, let's see. Nothing else I particularly want to plug there. Feel free to watch Roleplay Humor, of course, Let's Plays and whatnot. I have over 1,000 videos on that, actually. It's kind of sad if you think about it, because I only have, how many subscribers? 642, but not all of them watch it. It's just what I've gotten throughout the years from people subscribing and then never watching again.
It's a lot of content, though.
Yeah.
Content creator.
Content creator. Also, I changed my photo on Facebook to the French flag. That means the terrorists lose. That's how that works, right?
Yeah, I've been at a new job for about 4 months, and they have flags out front, and I'm trying to think, like, in the 4 months I've been there, how many days the flags have been half-mast and how many days they've been normal. I bet it's 20% of the time they've been half-mast because just like a mass shooting or something that seems to happen every 2 or 3 weeks.
So we're having a mass shooting epidemic.
Yeah, that's definitely happening. It's like
Yeah.
we don't. It's not like the attack in Paris because it was in multiple locations and it was coordinated.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, we also talk about the Paris attacks on the show. Eventually, we end up getting into a 15-minute tirade before getting back on subject, I swear. But we do talk about it and different opinions. In fact, it gets heated at one point where David was yelling at me. But so we talk about what we think we should do in response to it and just our opinions in general. And the Syrian refugees and stuff, which they've already been background checked the fucking death. Only 10,000, which is like spitting into a bucket of water at best.
it's like 10,000 total, and I think Germany's taken at least 100,000, and they're 4 million total. So, yeah, it's like so when you get a gun in this country, you even have to show a license, and if you come in as a refugee, it's like a many years process, and it's
Mm-hmm.
So it's not quite the same.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, things are crazy. Like Europe has to look at us like a joke.
We're a joke with lots, like a giant military, though. So we're like, we like you. We want to be friends.
But we demonize sex, but we have the most violent things ever. Not really care about that. I think maybe the rest of the world is too prudish about violence. Not really, because they have to see the real shit more times than we do. Though, hey, that changed all the mass shootings.
Yeah,
we're just so desensitized from violence. It's part of our history. We were founded on a goddamn war, which is why we have the gun culture to begin with, really.
Yeah, if you listen to this week's The Naked Mormonism, he actually goes back into the Europeans actually, they had the first like mass genocide when they brought their germs over and pretty much wiped out a large percentage of the Native Americans in the North and South
we were
America.
bioterrorists before it was cool?
I know.
Way to put
And
that.
it brought up, I think one of the reasons why they came up with these stories was they found these mass graves in these towns where nobody was there anymore and they had all died, and they're like, there must have been some kind of big war instead of, oh, they all died from this invisible disease.
You see, it was the White Walkers.
Oh, yeah. We knew they were coming in.
Winter came.
Game of Thrones. Oh, it's coming.
Yes. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I think, doesn't everybody now?
True.
I'm kind of wondering, because the latest book seems like it's taking forever, so I don't know. I guess they're just going their own way now, the show creators. Because I read the first book and it was exactly season 1. Like, it was amazing how they just captured it all.
I know there's like a lot of different like the older sister is not at that one northern base like she is. No, it's the other sister, Ari, I think you pronounce her name as. She is in the book or something like that. And Jon Snow was like got killed because he wanted to spoilers, by the way. But yeah, Jon Snow in the book got killed because he wanted to kill the one guy. It wasn't because of the wildling thing, at least that wasn't the main reason. Pretty much they wanted to stay neutral from any of the wars, and Jon Snow was about to break that or something. So there is differences by the end.
I feel like they have to, although, I don't know, like stuff like Harry Potter, they stuck pretty close, but usually they're...
Yeah.
The Star Wars movies and like the novelization.
I didn't watch any of the movies or books past 4, so parts of 5. I need to at least watch the movies.
Well, they're on all
but
the time.
I heard that she's making a new book.
I won't give away the ending on that one.
It's called Dumbledore's Big Gay Adventure. No, just kidding.
There you go. It's time for the alternate. Well, this is we've covered about an hour, so I'm going to say thank you, Demise, for being on the show. And if you want to know more about me, well, follow me on Twitter, Zachrilege, right there. It's right there. Zachrilege. And you can like the Zachrilege Cast page on Facebook and send all hate mail to zachrilege.cast@gmail.com. Thanks again for joining.
Still send the hate mail his way.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for Demise for being on and giving me a new hope regarding my nerdiness. The world does appear to be blowing up right now, so keep your cool. Do not engage.
I want to do one last speech before we go.
Sure.
And the reason, one reason I made the show was because nerdom isn't well represented in the atheist community. Hell, Bill Maher flat out insults nerds on a regular fucking basis. He's like, but Neil deGrasse Tyson brought up that a lot of the nerds are atheists. So, well, do we want them? They're not good atheists. Wow. Constantly insults comic book movies and everything else. So we have to show that nerdom has to show that we're atheists. We're the smart ones. We're the cool ones. Okay, we're not cool, but well, get whatever ground we can, damn it. And I hope you join us for episode 21. I'm going to edit it and post it tonight, so it'll be on the Godless Nerds YouTube page, which I'm going to make pretty much right after this. So thank you. Thanks again for allowing me to be on the show. I hope someone's entertained by this somewhere.
There will be links for everything. So
everything!
As we said, do not engage in meme wars on Facebook unless you're really good at it. Stay safe, and if you need to chat, I'm available. If you're an atheist and feel alone, you're not alone. Reach out. Let's chat and get that whole human connectiveness thing that keeps people coming back every Sunday. And to finish out, stay skeptical.